I wrote probably half or more of it on an acoustic guitar, and that was new for me. And I think that was a big revelation for me too. Like, not depending on the distortion right away.
Ghost Cult Magazine welcomes in Tyler from the Project Wrack. How are you doing?
I'm getting by, man. I'm doing all right. How are you doing?
I mean, we're all getting by, sir. War, famine, plague, all the shit metal bands and rock bands talked about for 50 years is coming back to haunt us.
Yeah.
Not in a funny way, in a sad way. Tough times all over. I hope you're hanging in there despite everything, and your friends, families, collaborators are all okay, because it's okay not to be okay, but it's also, I'm hoping for the best for everybody.
Thanks, man. I really appreciate that.
Yeah. And it's not just me and a blog. We have a global team of people, and we've suffered our own losses in the last few years. So, we're just trying to delve into what we love and distract ourselves like everyone else. But yes, it has been some time since we chatted, and for those that are not familiar with you, phenomenal drummer, bassist, multi-instrumentalist, and many other things. You've got a lot of projects cooking, but this new project we're here to talk about today is the new EP from Wrack, Repulsive Gravity, which I believe is coming out on King of Sticks Records in a few weeks at the time of our recording this. So congrats.
Thank you.
And, we're big fans of, as much as we support everybody all over the globe, we have to unfortunately cover some banal butt rock, anything but, everything and rock, like those kind of bands, Red State, Metal Fest, Rock Fest bands. But we love underground music, difficult music, avant-garde music, obtuse music. We started actually as a zine back in the day to cover underground bands and post-metal and post-rock and sludge, doom, everything like that. So that's where our heart lies. And so happy to talk to you about some good shit.
I like that's perfect setup. And I mean, maybe we'll just end up talking about 80s butt rock the whole time, because that's
sometimes you need the butt rock. You need the terrible tap out shirts and the on purpose ripped jeans, designed that way, as opposed to the old fashioned way from working menial jobs for the man, plotting the overthrow of society. But, it's funny because, I don't recall, and you correct me or help me out here. I don't recall if you're a native to this area, the Bay Area. I now live in the Bay Area. I'm from the East Coast. And so it does seem like there was a period of time where the best music was coming out of here. Melvins were here for a long period of time after forming in Seattle. Neurosis, Sleep, and High on Fire, all the punk bands, for better or worse, in the East Bay that we do love, the hardcore of back in the day, thrash metal. So there was a vibrant scene, and there's a vibrant scene here again. So I don't know if that's, by nature, or if you just ended up here. Let me know.
I did grow up here. And I remember when I was a kid, they had the Chronicle had a section called the date book, and I believe it was pink. I think everyone called it the pink section. And like, I was pretty young when a lot of that stuff was going on, but I used to flip through it every Sunday when we would get that and look at all the ads for all the venues, like the Stone and the Omni. And I kind of familiarized myself with what was going on here just vicariously, because I was too young to experience any of that in person at the time. But I'm sure it had some sort of impact on me, seeing like, oh wow, this is a whole other thing. My parents don't talk about this. They don't teach you this in school. None of my friends even know about this. There must be something going on,
Right. And I think the Chronicle still has the date book, although it's not pink anymore. I think it was probably pink because it was cheap to print on the pink paper. I'm sure something like that. And yeah, there's and in general, like the Bay Area is, Northern California is an artist's conclave a lot, as much as LA gets all the credit and the fame and the headlines. The Bay is where the real people are, I feel. I understand that there's a different culture here now, tech bros and Napa and, white flight and return and all these geopolitical things you didn't come here to talk about. You came here to talk about riffs with me. But, these things all go in the soup of whatever art you're making anyway. I find it invading my personal work with Ghost Cult and even my professional work. Sometimes I can't you can't turn it off if it's in your, you're passionate about it.
Yeah, I'm curious to know, like, I would like to hear from you what's going on now, because being like kind of locked at home for the past 2 years, I feel like I've completely lost track of who's playing around here. Like, I know there's not been a lot of shows, but bands must be doing stuff, and like, it's okay. Uh, I'll try. Like, Kowloon Walled City is a band that's like still active, like pushing hard, um, in the heavy genre. Um, is Laudanum still around? I don't know what's going on anymore.
Yeah, I think they are. I
Okay.
just saw Kowloon Walled City like a month and a half ago at their record release at Bottom of the Hill. So shows are still happening.
Okay.
I live in the neighborhood of DNA Lounge, so shows are
Oh
still
yeah.
happening there. King Woman just played there, phenomenal. And it's obviously just because of the nature of the last couple of years, there were no shows when I first moved here, and then they slowly started to open up. We were getting vaccinated and boosted before the rest of the country in a lot of ways, and very aggressive about it. I'm hope positive. I probably beat this into the ground, but I'm hopefully optimistic we're going to start coming back. It seems like a lot of tours are starting to come through here or be rebooked and happen. So I think you have like the East Bay still has like the indie rock and sort of indie pop and rock and punk thing that is still very centrist to Oakland and the surrounding. And then, San Francisco is the big, expensive city with a myriad of problems, but we do have the bigger venues, the better venues, just, or more of them, maybe
Yeah.
not better, but more of them. And there are still national acts. I think Baroness is coming to Oakland in a few weeks, and
Yeah.
Jawbreakers doing that big reunion. If you're, punk from the '90s person, or indie rock, alternative rock, I'm a
Uh,
big Jawbreaker fan. I'm excited to see them. I think I saw them in like a little dirty club in New York like 25 years ago. So it
yeah.
was kind of like the kid in me is like, oh my god, I can't believe this band is back. So, and they were here for a while. They were based out of here. Some of those guys are from here. The famous Mission photo of them outside of Mission Produce on 23rd and Mission. So like, yeah, man, I still think there's a vibrant scene here for music. King Woman is from Oakland originally, and this was like a big. She made a joke. She was like, I've never played the Bay. I've never really played my hometown. I didn't when I was a resident, and now I'm visiting, and I'm here headlining a festival, kind of a music sort of dance indie pop rock festival. And she did like a straight up Doom set, and it was amazing.
Oh,
and
awesome.
and a Happy Mondays cover, which I think this shouldn't be a surprise. I think she recorded it, but hearing it live was amazing. So yeah, man. So you came up here, and again, Kowloon Walled City, I would consider them a peer of yours. They have a great new record. Your EP, man, this is your third EP, so I don't know if the EP is the journey for you. There, what is an album anymore? What is an EP? I've heard a thing referred to as an EP that was an hour long. I've seen an album 30 minutes. So I know this is your third release under this title, and just tell us about the genesis of this project, because you have other bands. I'm sure
hmm
you have other stuff you work on.
Yeah, let's talk about the genesis of it, because it does come out at like, so in the early part of the 2000s, I was most active with the Mass. The Mass was like a crazy, like punk jazz thrash kind of hybrid, and we did a lot of stuff around here. That was like the most like active, fertile time of my life playing music. It's awesome. Um, we played it. I mean, it felt like at least once a month in the Bay Area, and people would come and have fun. It was just like one of those times, but that kind of ran its course. Um, and somehow I convinced some friends to start a new band where I played guitar, because I had played guitar before I joined the Mass and Totemoshi, but I kind of put it on the shelf, and felt like playing again. And then I started singing and developed the kind of vocal style that you hear now in Wrack. This band was called Mausolea. We didn't release anything, did a few shows, broke up. So now I'm like two bands broken up, don't know what to do. And Christian from Bottles and Skulls said, "Oh, you got to make a solo record." I said, "Okay, let's do that." Bought a bunch of recording gear, didn't really know what I was doing, and made the first EP. And I don't know, like I almost maybe didn't even think that much of it, but some people got really into it. which totally surprised me. And here it is. So it's still a thing. That was back in 2009 that I put that out. And I'm actually surprised to be sitting here today talking about it and making more music with, like, was never the plan. I don't know. It just, I don't even think about it. It just happens. You know what I mean?
The best kind of art just kind of happens to you, and then you just put it out. I mean, obviously things that are very calculated and not spontaneous and don't, not that they don't last, because some, created for a purpose, this thing, that's okay too. But I think this is the best possible thing, that casually this is still going. And, and you've had other projects, other bands, and none of that thing, I would say, just my personal experience to you listening to this project and having seen you in other things, you have the chops, you could do anything. So I think this is a super interesting choice. This is the music that's like relevant to you now, moving you now, coming through you now. So I think that's really killer.
Thank you. Yeah, it surprises me because I agree with you. And I realized when I made this most recent one, like, I kind of had a moment of, like, I don't know, like, wow, this is kind of what I'm supposed to do. Like, it all came together in a way that maybe it hadn't before, to the point where I can see threads between sitting in this chair that I'm in right now and writing a riff and having the understanding of how are drums going to work with that, how is bass going to work with that, how am I going to record it, how am I going to mix it. Like, it really does all now complement every other part of it. And that's so, like, mind-blowing to me, because usually in a band, like, I'm the bass player, I focus on my bass tone and my bass parts, and maybe I write some stuff, but, like, you don't have that level of holistic execution. And so now that I'm finally starting to realize that, I'm like, wow, like, this is my instrument. Wrack is my instrument. Like, I don't consider myself, like, I wouldn't go do like a clinic as a drummer or something, like guys like practice drums their whole life. I'm not one of those guys. Like, it's a percentage of what I do, but I think that this project shows, like, what I can do that is maybe a little unique.
Nice. As the guitar player for one of my past bands once said to me, sometimes the song plays you. And
Yeah.
so true, so true. I feel like this is that time. And yeah, man, this is Repulsive Gravity is killer. I spent a little bit of time jamming it out. PR sent it to me. Thank you, S&M Group. And yeah, man, I've really enjoyed it. It's heavy, but not just riffs heavy, it's heavy emotionally. So, I don't know if this is coming from a place of stuff you need to get off your chest and express. This is just how your voice works, your voice and your voice and your voice. But, you tell me, what's the driving sort of overarching thing from Wrack, if there is one?
It is probably that. After I, kind of got this one going and started realizing what it was, I mean, I realized, first of all, it kind of harkens back to the first one in terms of a little bit slower and a little more gloomy and doomy. The second EP is actually, now that I listen to it in hindsight, actually quite peppy and upbeat. But for some reason now my headspace is way back into this darkness. But I mean, I didn't intend to do that, but I think that that's, like, it is a kind of fucked up way to express just the situation that I can't escape now. Like, I really feel like the world is fucked up. I've been isolated for basically 2 years here in my house. All the systems that we depend on are kind of starting to falter one by one, and I don't feel that optimistic about the future. So it's not an intention of mine, but when I open myself up to the process of making art, that's what feels right.
It's part and parcel of these times, and you're not far off, actually. I think even the people, like I said, there are people literally clinging to life in another part of the world today, and my thoughts are on them a lot. And
Yeah.
you're only as good as your leaders, and if your leaders are no good, whether we like to throw shit here on ourselves, but like, you know, if you're only as good as your leadership is, we're in a lot of trouble out there. And this might be the music for this time also. And we're all, I mean, I'm gravitating to very, you know, like it makes me feel better. Hard music, sad music, angry music, rough music makes me feel better. Just, you know, a lot more than Here Comes the Sun, unfortunately.
Yeah,
And I like that too.
I'm the same way. Like, you know, I've been thinking a lot about how people depend on kind of positive, upbeat music to kind of pull them through, and I think that's cool, but that's not my approach at all. Like, I want to go for it, and you know, if there's a record in the past like year or two that's really like maybe encouraged me, it was that latest Ulcerate record. Did you hear that?
I did. Oh,
Um,
the beast.
it's a beast, and yeah, like they're incredible musicians and it's technical, but it feels so real to me. Like, and like, not to go off on too much of a tangent, but like I I check out a lot of, you know, extreme metal, technical metal, brutal metal, all that stuff. And most of it's pretty computerized these days, and it's kind of steroided up in a kind of way that I can't really feel for much longer than a minute or two. Also, like I feel like they're a real band. Like I've seen them a few times, and when I listen to the record, it's the same experience. It sounds like a band playing together, songs that they wrote. It doesn't sound like they're just piecing it together in a computer. You know, it's like it's real. So I'm not trying to compare myself to Ulcerate, but that's the part of that that pushes me. Like I want to come across with that authenticity.
Nice. I dig it. When you go to compose now, what is do you reach for the guitar first? Is that just kind of now your inclination? I know you're still playing, you know, bass and thought leaders and stuff like that, but is guitar for your personal stuff, this project, is that what you reach for first?
It is what I reach for first, but I question that a lot because I actually play a lot more bass these days because of thought leaders. And I actually feel a lot more comfortable on bass now. So I feel like I should be reaching for bass. But one of the things I did on this record was I wrote probably half or more of it on an acoustic guitar, and that was new for me. And I think that was a big revelation for me too. Like not depending on the distortion right away.
Of course. Yeah, and I mean a good song is a good song, and if you can make bones of a song, the skeleton of a song good, doesn't you can execute it any way you see fit, you know? That's why so many covers work so well in other genres. It's just like, oh, that's just of course, like it's a good song to its core. It doesn't matter what, you know, method you use, what genre. So that's really cool. Thanks for sharing that. You know, could be different things. Maybe you will pick up the bass and be like, this is for some other band. But yeah, like, so I asked about EPs. And so I think, you know, I feel like we in a weird space where the availability of music is amazing and I appreciate having it everywhere. But it's also like people's attention spans are like zero as a result. So I feel bad. I'm glad I'm not playing in bands anymore, because to try to command attention, you have to make great music, or, you know, at least try. And it's hard. You know, is the EP or the single the way forward for you personally, or just what do you see? Maybe that's the way the whole business is going to go. I know there are still great albums, but you know, it's hard. It's fewer and fewer.
It's it's funny how that came about. So I don't know. I'm not really into weird stuff like this, but this is my third 3-song EP. So I once I started working on this music, I was like, okay, I gotta at least do, if all the other ones have 3 songs, and I'm working on the third thing, I gotta at least make sure it's another 3-song thing. But the first EP was actually intended to be 1 song. And I broke it up that way. It says Graveyard Part 1, Part 2, Part 3, but in my mind it was a song. It happened to be EP length, but in my mind it was a song. And I let my friend convince me that, hey, you know, nobody's going to hit play on a 27-minute song and let it ride through. You gotta at least break it up. So I said, okay. And for some reason, I've done that now 3 times. Now I have 3 EP length, but that's not, I mean, when I did this one, my intention was to release Repulsive Gravity, this song, as a single. But, you know, the music gods had other plans, and I had to just go with it. I just ended up here, you know. I wanted it to get out a long time ago as a single, with no publicity or anything, and now here we are with a release date that hasn't even come up yet.
I know. Well, you know, I do think there's a value, having been on the music marketing side and working in social media and stuff like that. It's necessary. You have to promote a little, and it's important to help, you know, people find you on, you know, even if it's just Bandcamp, which Bandcamp got sold today. Speaking of the Bay Area, Bandcamp got sold today by the dude that does Fortnite. So
I saw that.
I hope it doesn't change the company, because I have loved them so hard. I have given them so much of my business and my mouthpiece to help promote them every chance I can. And I really hope they don't change. But also, whenever there's a big money corporate interference, to me, my spider sense goes off. But you know,
could go wrong.
What could go wrong? Everything. But also, maybe they swear they're not going to change right away. I hope.
Yeah.
But yeah, it's important to have people find you. And I think this is important music for people to find also. Like, this is some good stuff, man. People really need to catch up on what you've done before and take this in. And you know, it's not, like I said, I said offline here before we started, it's not, you know, some of the best art is not the easily digestible. I know that that's like the, you know, M&M's for dumb people is pop music, right? And it's just like, oh, you know, the breadcrumb trail of stupid follows itself down a rabbit hole. And some of that stuff's good. I like some pop music too. I grew up in the 80s. I love a lot of pop songs, but some of this stuff today, like you said about like production and, you know, like values and things like that, I don't see it happening. I don't see the high quality in other things like I see still in underground heavy music. But that's just me. That's also my narrow old guy yelling on my lawn, fist in the air. Super, you know, I'd have grays, except I lost it all, so shave it now. And, you know, can't pull out my hair from anger anymore because there ain't none. So, you know, that's just kind of what we do. We persist. We're just stubborn. We won't go. We won't listen. It's dead. Rock is dead. Somebody else is like on me about that. Like, rock is, why do you promote these genres? This is my heart. My heart is here. Like, that's what it really comes down to. If it's dead or not, that's for somebody else to say. I don't think that's fair or right. As much good new music as I've already heard in 2022.
Yeah. And I mean, I'm at an age now where in all things I do, I have to actively just cast aside, like, I'm never going to be cool. Like, I don't know what kids expect now. I can't even try. So I just got to stick to my guns. And that's what this is about. I mean, it sounds like, you know, I think I'm getting the impression that you have like a bit of it's something I sense here in the Bay Area, like Ludacra, for example. That's a different type of band, right? We do have more of like an indie sensibility here, and it is not just about the riffs or the imagery. There is kind of what is that? It's like a little bit of an anti-commercialism, maybe, or I don't know what to call it, but I certainly embrace that. And like, in fact, I'm trying to triple down on it now, and, you know, dare people, like, listen to this, like, really listen to it. You know, don't listen to 10 seconds, like, give it a shot.
Spend some time with it. Yeah.
Spend real time. Yeah.
Yeah. We're in the same place where Chelsea Wolf and Neurosis are from the same hood, even if Neurosis guys don't necessarily hear that much anymore, but like a lot of them do. And like Chelsea Wolf is also from up here. And like, you know, I think the diversity and the coolness of the Northern California area lends itself to the diversity of people and in music. And we need all that. And, you know, you'll hear me yelling from whatever digital mountaintop I have that people should be hearing this EP. You know, what's up next for you? Is this something you would go perform anywhere, or is it just not possible as a solo project?
I mean, I don't have a plan for it. And in order to do something like that, it would take one of two things. One, I sort of muster a lot of gumption and recruit people and say, I wrote all this music. Do you want to come play it with me? Now that's not like me. I'm a pretty introverted, kind of quiet dude, and I can't really see myself doing that. Number two, those people come find me and offer to do it. But those both seem unlikely at this stage. So I would love to do it, but I've never been like a band leader like that, like write music and have other people play. I've always been in a band where everyone just throws shit at the wall and, you know, but I would think about doing something like this as a band member.
There you
And
go.
like use it as a point of reference for what I can bring to a band, and it would be one of the contributions to a band, but it wouldn't be this.
Right. Maybe we'll get one of these visionary artists in the area to either do a short film with this as the soundtrack, because it does feel very cinematic. All your stuff does. Maybe we'll get somebody to make a short film or an animated kind of visualizer for the EP. That would be sick. And I'm just wishing it into existence. I don't know that it's possible. I don't have money to donate. I wish I did, but you know, these are my wishes. I like this. This is some killer shit, and I'm really happy for you. And you know, it's great to reconnect after all this time. And you're still killing it, man. And appreciate it. And you know, deeply appreciate you hanging out with Ghost Cult and sharing your story with our viewers and listeners. But you know, I'll see you around the town, perhaps bump into you at a thought leader show or something in the near future. That would be rad.
That would be rad. I'll keep an eye out for you, Keith.